Hey, what's going on, everybody? Hope everyone's having a great Thanksgiving. Wanted to get this quick upload up as I just somewhat finished my training week, and I'll talk about that in just a second why I say somewhat finished. But we're 1 week out now from the competition, and things went interestingly this week, and they always do, and I'm starting to ache a little bit, so you know it is getting real. Now, this first training session of 3x5 with 430 actually moved fairly well. One of the things we've been doing each week is bumping up the weight and lowering the volume that we're doing as we work heavier. And throughout this training cycle, squats have actually felt really good for the most part, which I'm excited about because it's been a while since my squats have really been moving consistently well. And it's interesting also as we start to get heavier with the bench and do more. So again, bench pressing 4 times a week, my bench is actually starting to feel a lot better, which tells me that my AC joint is getting a lot better, which is very great news. I'm still not where I was or where I want to be, but the fact that it is progressing each week is great news, especially heading into this meet. Speaking of progressing, safety bar squats on the next day, which is more of an assistance exercise day, using the safety bar squat and then also doing some banded work as well. Each week on these, my main goal is just to increase the weight somewhere between 2.5 to 5 kilos, which is 5 to 10 pounds. And these have really been flying up, so I was feeling pretty good on this particular day. Same thing with this banded bench. These are a little bit deceiving because the weight's not too heavy on the barbell, especially when it's down on your chest because that band tension isn't there. But up towards lockout, when each band adds about 50 pounds of resistance, these do get pretty heavy considering my poverty bench. So after those 2 training days, took an off day to recuperate because the next training day I had was actually going to be testing deadlift openers, and we're doing 573 pounds here, roughly 260 kilograms for 2 sets of 1. Also strapped on the singlet to emulate meet conditions a little bit further, and I have to be honest, during this actual session, I didn't really feel it. I felt like these were moving very slow. I know part of that is using a stiff bar. You're not going to have the same explosiveness as you would using a deadlift bar, but I didn't feel like these moved like an opener during the session. But now that I'm a day or so removed, I actually think these moved pretty well, and I think this is a pretty good, accurate representation of where I want to be. Another interesting thing is the fact that I am benching again. I mentioned 4 times per week right now, but I knew I was testing my bench opener the next day after this, so having a somewhat heavy-ish bench session for me for some volume was interesting, but like I said, bench has been feeling really well, moved really well, so this really set the pace for me going into the next day's training. So that brings us to today, the day of Thanksgiving. Got my training done early in the morning because obviously I have a lot of other stuff to do. And I have to be honest, my lower back was feeling super fatigued from those deadlifts yesterday, and I was not looking forward to this. And sitting here and watching this now, I'm not that happy with it. I felt like things moved slow, they looked a little bit rough, and to be honest, to me, these look more like second attempts than they do openers. But I think part of that is I'm kind of playing into how I feel right now, which is extremely fatigued. Again, being just roughly removed from this training. But as I've already said a couple of times in this video, and even in the other videos, when I come back a day or 2 later, I'm usually much more satisfied with how things felt and looked, mostly because I don't feel as shitty as I do as I'm recording this voiceover. So I'm hoping that is still the case going forward, and these feel a lot better next week after some back off. As part of that, I'm supposed to train tomorrow, kind of like a 5th day that's randomly thrown in there, and as part of that, it's consisting of deadlift volume work, and I'm probably going to take it off as of right now just because I know I take longer to recover, and my lower back could definitely use it at this point. So then moved on to working openers for bench, went with a heavier attempt here from what Bryce had recommended at 132.5. And honestly, these felt really good, again, considering the fact that this is my 4th time benching in about 5 days, and each time I bench, things are feeling a little bit better. Try to get a little bit more of an extended pause on this set, and things just worked out really well. So I'm hoping that's a good news for this meet coming up next week. But again, hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving, and I'll check in with you guys soon.